Wait a minute. These are actually films now. I should really go and change that. Welcome back to A Defense of the Awkward Moment. A little bit of the good old-fashioned music from the opener there. Nice little return to form for the credits. Glad to be back. Glad to spend time doing this again. Let's talk about Mass Effect Andromeda's single-player campaign, shall we? Spoilers. It said spoilers on the screen right before this one. Many spoilers. If you haven't played the game, if you haven't played the single-player campaign yet, yeah. Spoilers. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The single-player campaign, Mass Effect Andromeda. Both really good and really kind of interesting from the simple standpoint that there's a lot of stuff in the single-player campaign that smells very strongly like BioWare didn't pay a whole lot of attention to a lot of the flack that they got from Mass Effect 3. On one hand, the story is extraordinarily compelling. It starts off with a gunshot, and after a little bit of a build-up, half an hour, 45 minutes worth of build-up, it really kind of takes off. The general storyline of the game is you and a bunch of your other space friends have piled into space arcs. They're literally called arcs, and you're hurtling across dark space to the nearest neighboring cluster in space called Helios. And of course, when you get there, shit has gone terribly wrong, and not all the arcs have arrived, and there's strange alien technology in Helios, and you're not sure who made it and why they made it and what it's supposed to do. And there's alien bad guys and typical Mass Effect fodder. As you play through the single-player campaign, you play the role of the Pathfinder, whose job it is to explore these various planets that you see in Helios and decide which planets are fit for colonization. Which is why everybody piled into these arcs and went across space in the first place. Is you wanted to go and colonize Helios. It's human beings. It's what we do. We colonize stuff. And of course you get there and all 7 of the worlds are completely junked. And so you need to find out why they're junked and see if you can fix them. Stop them from being junked. So as you progress throughout this game, obviously there's the main storyline of you find out what's going on with the arcs, find out what's going on with the technology, find out who the big bad aliens are in the sector and why they want to do such bad things to you. But as you're doing all of this, in order to help you along in your little quest, you have to place outposts on planets so that the great big super ship that comes along with you to serve as your base of operations, cleverly called the Nexus, the more outposts you have, the more people that the Nexus can thaw out of cryosleep, and the more they can begin working on things like weapons upgrades and military upgrades and commerce upgrades and begin making trade with the local people. Sorry about the yawn. In the sector. And there's a lot of emphasis that's placed on this. There's a lot of emphasis on increasing a planet's viability for habitation. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't mean a thing. There are lots of quests about increasing this planet's viability for habitation and starting an outpost. And yeah, according to the story, it advances the story along. But in the end game, it doesn't mean a thing. Taking the time to drop outposts on non-mandatory planets doesn't really get you a whole lot, except for the occasional odd cryo point that you can spend to thaw more people out and devote them to military commerce or research and development stuff. All of that is cute, except the rewards for the military commerce or research and development people are negligible at best. And you look at those and, the research people can get you more tech, or they can get you more minerals, and the commerce people can, better selling and better buying and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I've beaten the single-player campaign. I didn't go to a vendor once to buy things. I went to a vendor to sell stuff, to sell all my junk. But I didn't go to a vendor once. Not once did I go to a vendor to buy weapons, to buy armor, to buy gewgaws. Not once. I never went to a vendor to buy minerals that you need for the in-game crafting system. Not once. You find plenty of minerals exploring the worlds as you run through the main quest. You find plenty of minerals as you tootle around the solar system. You find mineral deposits there. Not once did I go and buy minerals from a vendor, or did I really benefit from having my research and development teams bring me minerals. Hugely pointless, frustratingly pointless. And I played the game on the middle of the line difficulty level. I think there were two levels above and two levels below, or whatever. Middle of the road difficulty level to play the game on. And they didn't factor into it at all. Maybe they do if you're playing on the super duper hardest difficulty level, but I think that might drive me absolutely out of my mind if I had to do that. Likewise, loyalty missions in this game. Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. You wanted people's loyalty. If they were loyal to you, they survived. Not to put too fine a point on it. Mass Effect 2, if you didn't have certain people's loyalties by the time you ran the suicide mission, spoilers, by the time you ran the suicide mission, lots of people done got themselves perished if you didn't have their loyalty. In this game, zero impacts whatsoever to having people's loyalty missions. And you're immediately going to stand up and go, that's not true. Their loyalty missions unlock the 6th rank of their skills. Who gives a damn? The squad in this game is so generic. They just almost weren't there. Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, the squad combat was really, really great. You could depend on your squad to do various things. You could trigger squad powers to do various things. If you can do that in Mass Effect Andromeda, I haven't found a way to do it yet. Largely ineffective. You can take whoever they want on your missions, and it's really not. It really doesn't matter. The only person that I reliably, repeatedly took with me was Drac, the Krogan, simply because he had so many hit points that he's just a bullet sponge. You send him out there first, and everybody shoots at him, and you've got plenty of time to fettle about and kill bad guys in whatever method du jour that appeals to you. But the loyalty missions don't mean anything. Here's what does mean something. Going and finding the other Pathfinders. Supporting the other Pathfinders. You can tell in the final big mission of the game, when you're going to confront the big bad, you can tell through video splicing where there are and are not supposed to be different videos depending on stuff that you've done. And the final big rush in this game was, let's go kill the big bad. He's been stomping on Helios, so let's invite everybody in the Helios cluster to come and stomp on him with us. Even people that you haven't even made friends with yet, that you haven't established diplomatic relationships with, they show up. So it doesn't really matter. The only difference is the Pathfinders. All of the Pathfinders played, the Solarian, the Turian, and the Asari Pathfinders. All the Pathfinders made an impact in both the cinematic as you're leading up to the last fight of the game, and also in the last fight itself. And that is just quite frustrating. You do all this, it's important and blah, 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 but then to not have it affect the game at all. On one hand, it's nice because you can just play this game straight through with zero consequences whatsoever if you don't decide to do the loyalty missions and whatnot. The game's pretty much going to end the same way. On the other hand, it seems like there's so much wasted time and effort in the minutia of this game. There's so much to do. And none of it matters unless you're a completionist. Is the single-player campaign enjoyable? Yes. Yes, it is. The single-player campaign is very enjoyable. I played the holy snot out of it. I do feel like it's shorter than Mass 3 single player campaign and Mass 2 single player campaign. You arrive in the Helios cluster, you explore a couple of homeworlds to discover these giant monoliths that terraform planets. You meet the big bad guy. The big bad guy wants to control the monoliths so we can kill everybody. And then there's a race with the big bad guy to get to the main control center that controls all the big monoliths that terraform planets. And that's it. I really didn't feel like the single player campaign was that long. There's just gobs and gobs of side quests that you can do, and the side quests are beefy. There's definitely some stand up and take notice side quests in this game that take you to a lot of interesting places and ask you to do a lot of interesting things. Liam Costa's loyalty mission in particular is really, really fun. It takes you to a spaceship, and they play with gravity the whole time that you're in there, and that makes for some really interesting environmental combat. But other than that, the outposts, the mining, the crafting, the thawing people out of cryo, the loyalty missions, none of it matters to the end of the game. Here's what else doesn't matter to the game whatsoever, and this is a little frustrating just because I'm a throwback whore. In the beginning, during character generation, you get to pick whether or not you had a male or a female Shepard in Mass Effect 3. No mention of Shepard whatsoever in the primary campaign. It might be hiding somewhere in one of the side quests, but that they put that choice in the middle of character generation suggests that maybe there'd be something else in the game. Not a single stinking mention of Shepard. Not one. So that was a little misleading and a little frustrating. Here's something else that's pointless about the single player campaign: the engineering profiles, the SAM profiles. They're neat in concept, but in practice, once you find a profile, you never switch to a different profile. You just don't. You decide that you're going to be a space wizard and sling biotics around. There's one profile that makes you an awesome space wizard, and once you get it, you never switch away from it. You put points on all this other shit in the game, and you open up other profiles, but you are going to stick to using the space wizard profile because that makes you the most potent space wizard. They're kind of pointless. It's a gimmick and nothing more. Something else that's kind of pointless is picking a class. The way that Mass Effect Andromeda's, and this actually is kind of a good thing, but still pointless. The way that Mass Effect Andromeda's character generation works is you start out by picking a class, and it puts 1 point and 2 random powers depending on what your class is. But then other than that, when you level up, you can build your character however you want, using whatever combination of tech powers and combat powers and biotic powers, and make your own little freaky deaky jack of all trades. Super duper great to do that, because there's a lot of dumb things that you got shoehorned into putting up with in Mass 2 and Mass 3. So it's really neat that character generation was opened up to that extent. But it does make classes somewhat pointless. At the end of the day, you can just go and trigger a respec and turn your character into anything that you could possibly want. Anything at all that you could possibly want. You have so many skill points by the time you get, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I kind of rushed the single player campaign. I did a lot of crap that I thought was important, but I've just got buckets and buckets of side missions sitting around that I'm not doing anything with whatsoever. I still ended up with so many skill points. I maxed out everything that I wanted to max out, and I even started playing with things at one point. I was so powerful by the end of the game. So powerful. By the end of the game, I was very difficult to kill. And there's still plenty of game that you can play after the end of the game, which of course is going to make that, considerably easier for you to do. But there's no incentive to go and play it. So class is dumb, profile's dumb, all of the mining in errata and crafting and not crafting. We'll touch on crafting in a second. All the mining and errata and settling things and viability, it's a pointless gesture. It's an absolutely pointless gesture. It's just something that's a lure for completionists, and I was totally overdone. The crafting system is awesome. It's really, really easy to use. It's really, really lightweight. If you don't have a weapon and you want a weapon, you just go, you do the research to get the blueprint, and then as long as you have the junk in your drawer, you can just build the weapon, and boop, there it is. You build your weapon, and you will find all the spare scrap that you need to build anything you could possibly want just by roaming around and playing the various missions of the game. So the crafting system is neat. You pick something that you want, you play with it. More emphasis on melee weapons in single player, which is super cool. Get rid of the Omni Blade is neat, but at the moment they told me that I could wield a Krogan sledgehammer. Get rid of the Omni Blade. Give me the giant hammer. Super duper great. Being able to have different kinds of melee weapons. The equipment system is quite a bit more fleshed out in Mass Effect Andromeda than it was in the previous games. So that's a lot of fun to play with. A whole lot of fun to play with. It really, really is. It's not that the single player campaign was unenjoyable. It was just filled with an awful lot of golly fluff. They could have spared you the time and the agony on. Something else that is a little frustrating about the single player campaign is some of the maps, especially on Eladin. The in-game map is bad whenever there's any kind of elevation whatsoever. And there's a lot of elevation in this game because you've got a jump jet on the back of your suit, or you can do biotic jump if you're spec'd into that. Because of that, there's a lot of elevation, because if you can jump, we need to make places for you to jump to. Neat, lots of really cool map building, lots of elevation, really changes the combat dynamic. Unfortunately, if you're going to have three-dimensional worlds and you give people a map system that isn't very three-dimensional, it kind of sucks. The map, especially outdoors in the more mountainy terrains like Eladin and on Havarl with those multi-level temples, is really, really frustrating. You'll spend a lot of time stomping around there looking for stuff. All in all, the single-player campaign, thought it was a little short. Not bad, not bad by any means. A little bit short, though. A lot of pointless stuff in it that they just didn't need. Doesn't necessarily detract from the game, but if you spend the time doing X and Y and Z and crafting blah 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 blah, you get to the end of the game and you find out, oh my god, that does nothing. That does nothing whatsoever. So that can be a little bit frustrating, but all in all, I think the single-player campaign was really, really great. I had fun with it. I really kind of ran through it. It was really, really addicting. A lot of fun to play. Last gripe here, and then I think I'll be done. Criminal misuse of the twin. I played Sarah Ryder, the female. Because her voice acting is way better than Scott Ryder. Hey, what do you know? It's another female BioWare hero that's better than the male counterpart. Who knew? Hi, Jennifer Hale. And your twin is injured relatively early on in the game, and he doesn't reappear until the last part of the game, until like the last hour and a half of the game. Your twin doesn't reappear. He's a complete and utter throwaway in the game. And when you finally do get to play him, your main character, my femme rider gets incapacitated. You finally get to play the male, and it's like, oh great, the second half of the game is going to be with this guy, and then maybe there'll be some great merging of the riders at the end of it. No, sorry. Criminal misuse of the twin. I cannot believe that that's all BioWare thought to do with the twin. They didn't turn the twin into a bad guy. They didn't turn the twin into very much of a playable character. You couldn't do anything with the twin whatsoever. You get like a 5-minute play sequence with him, and then that's it. Huge waste of that twin. I have no idea what the hell the BioWare was thinking. A lot of people have gotten really, really grumpy about the fact that they feel that the graphics in this game were rushed. I'm not sure certain parts of the story element weren't rushed too. Tragic misuse of the twin. But yeah, for all the bad stuff that I've just spewed off, an extraordinarily enjoyable single-player campaign. It really, really was a lot of fun. Might play it again. Might play it again at least once more with a completely different character build. Go for something a little bit more snipey. But for the most part, for now, I think I'm probably done with it. Lots of amazing AAA quality multiplayer to be had. I encourage you to go to get some of that. I really, really do. Thanks for watching.